This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing. Monday Night Skippies is back on the air as we say hello and welcome to Phoenix International Raceway and welcome to Club UK and Ireland Monday Night Skippies in support of the Calm Zone. Qualifying is underway then at this Roval racetrack that measures just under 1.5 miles in length. That's about half a mile longer than the oval layout here at Phoenix International Raceway. Track temperature is currently 41 degrees Celsius. That is a swelteringly hot 105 degrees Fahrenheit with humidity at 52%, and your wind speeds, they are, well, low at just 2 miles an hour. Will Vincent here in place of Rachel Whiteford for this week, joined as ever by Linus. And well, Linus, slippery track conditions, tyres getting up to temperature. We're going to see a lot of spinning today and a lot of people struggling to stay on the island.
Yeah, it's been a lot of people spinning both in practice and qualifying so far, and with this being a layout a lot of people are not used to, and infield being so rough in the tarmac, it's going to be, especially the first couple of laps, going to be a lot of people spinning out until they get their temperatures up. So going to see how they handle that, but hopefully we can have a good race as we always do in this series.
Yeah, and it's a solo car qualifying here, mainly because of the fact that we are running on the racetrack lap. Normally has, well, quite a bit of oval to it. What we've often seen in the past, every time we have one of these roval layouts, everyone likes to go out, have a pit party, and the qualifying becomes a little bit of a mess. So, what we got instead is a solo car qualifying here today, and the drivers have 3 laps to set themselves the best time they possibly can around this racetrack, and it is currently Claire Hughes who is leading the way in terms of qualifying by not much, actually, only 1/100th of a second over Simon Edwards, with the Anderson in 3rd place, and then Ben Daniels in 4th, and Nicholas Vaughan Roberts rounds out your top time. It wouldn't be Monday Night Skippies without talking about that 1 second bracket, and your 1 second bracket today takes you all the way down to Tim Adcock, who is down in 16th place, but almost as importantly, you've got just 1/100th of a second separating Hughes and Edwards right now, and then you've got a tight pack between P number 5, Vaughan Roberts, and Robertson in P number 7, Chris Robertson.
Yeah, it's less than a tenth between those guys as well, and this track being just over a minute in length, the times are very, very close, and all the way through the field from first down to about 36th, we are just over 2.5 seconds, so it's not a whole lot spreading out this field. So it's gonna be cars all over the place by the end of the day, but it's gonna be battles all the way through the field as well. So it's gonna be a lot to look out for, and especially these first couple of laps are gonna be really, really important to try and keep your car on the track when you don't have the high grip.
Yep, sorry, I literally just burnt myself there through my jeans. That's why smoking's bad, ladies and gentlemen. You get random bits of ash and it always wants to burn you. On board of Clark Williams in the number 98 car as he comes past start finish line. He's done his requisite number of laps. He's just trying to get a little bit more practice in, and you can see there as we ride on board of him, you kind of duck down on the apron into turn number 1, then you run on this infield section. There's a little bit of curvature there, but also a lot of cones as well, and it's very flat, so it can be difficult sometimes to spot your apex. You get A nice little section through here. The left-hander then into the right. You slow it down into the right-hander. Then it's an apex through the corner. And then your next corner, it's a proper Mickey Mouse style chicane. You don't actually really turn the car at all. And then you come down into almost hairpin, a horseshoe is what they like to call it on these Rovals. Style corner, then back onto the banking, pretty much where you left off. And then you come down into NASCAR turns 3 and 4. Of course, Phoenix International Raceway Linus, of course, from next year becomes the championship round of the NASCAR Cup Series.
Yes, it does, and the layout has changed tremendously as well from this, what we're running today. They have a paved infield on the back straight, and that's going to turn into the front straight for next year. Unless it already has, I'm not quite sure about that one, but so this is a very old layout that we're running here today, and well, you can see a lap there from Lewis is very, very flat on the infield, so it's going to be really tricky for everybody, and getting momentum out of that last hairpin, or horseshoe as you call it, is going to be very important as well onto the oval, because the draft all the way around there is going to be playing a huge role, especially towards the end of the race.
Yep, qualifying is over, so we're going to head yourself down to the starting grid in just one moment's time here for this edition of Club UK&I and Monday Night Skippys, as ever in support of the Calm Zone, a male mental health charity designed to provide advice and support to young men suffering of mental health problems, because mental health is the biggest killer of men under the age of 35. Let's go then and look through your starting grid for Monday Night Skippys. And at the front of your field, we talked about it earlier on, it's Claire Hughes. Qualifying time 1:06.561. Alongside him on row number 1 is the driver Simon Edwards, just 100th of a second back. Lee Anderson, 3rd place. Ben Daniels alongside him on row number 2. Then Nicholas Vaughan Roberts and Matt Cox round out row number 3. Chris Robertson and SJ Dunning, they are your 4th row on the grid, and rounding out your top 10. Sarah Savage and Anthony Katz, with Ewan Patterson, Peter Cohen on row number 6. Clark Williams and Dave Martin in row 7. Daniel Toft and Tim Adcock in row 8. Row 9 will be Neil Jackson and Tony Stack, and then Mark Murphy and Chris Morris rounds out your top 10 rows. There are the remainder of your qualifying results up on your screen. A total of 42 cars have made the trip to the virtual Phoenix International Raceway. As you can see here, RaceSpot's own Paul Smith all the way down in P number 36 here today. And there are the remainder of the drivers. You notice 39 drivers set themselves a qualifying time, as we have got ourselves drivers now are underway as they come down in towards turn number 1. And here we are for the first lap then. As the lights have gone green, we are racing for 20 laps here at Phoenix International Raceway, and it is Claire Hughes who has himself the advantage. Simon Edwards right behind him in 2nd place. Lee Anderson, good start by him in 3rd, and then Ben Daniels in 4th. Nicholas Vaughan Roberts rounds out your top 5 right now, and it looks like I say that, we've got a car barrel rolling there, and we've got 3 cars involved in an incident, but it's Tim Adcock, the driver who's had a huge incident to start this race, and that is Tim Adcock.
Yeah, he bounced straight out into traffic there, so lucky to not get ran over by more people than he did. You can see he just turns in across the car next to him and just goes bouncing all the way through the infield. There's nothing he can do, and he unfortunately goes back on the track, but everybody's able to go around him, so very lucky there. Asper coming to complete the first lap here already, like I said, just over a minute lap time, and it is still Lee Hughes leading from Simon Edwards, Lee Anderson and Ben Daniels, Nicholas Vaughan Roberts in 5th, so no big changes up in your top 5.
On board with Edwards, as he's got himself Claire Hughes just ahead of him. You can see the different lines being taken through turn number 1. It's a little bit like a slimmed down version of turn number 1 at Daytona International Raceway's road course, and they now work themselves through this very tight and technical infield section on track. And you notice a little bit too wide going down, a little bit further down in your field. You've got Neil Jackson and Mark Murphy. They're battling for 16th place on track. Zooming behind, actually, Anthony Jones battling out with Peter Parnell. That is for 21st and 22nd place on track. as we get another look at that one as they work themselves then towards the back end of this infield section. What we've seen, got another car who's had an incident. That is going to be Sarah Savage. That's 2 weeks in a row that Savage has had a very poor start to this race, and she's all the way now down outside of your top 25. Well, 2 races in a row, Savage has had good qualifyings, but has not been able to carry that through into the race.
No, she seems to be struggling on the cold tyres, and this week she had a P9. Last week I think she started 3rd and had a crash on the first lap, so it's very unfortunate for her. It seems like she needs to practice a little bit more on the starts here with the cold tyres.
Yeah, there we are. I think she got tagged a little bit. Here. Yeah, I think she got tagged a little bit there as well, heading down on up of the infield section and back on to the oval. So she looks like she got a little bit of help there as we go back towards the front part of your field. Let's go on board with Lee Anderson right now. Actually, we say that we've got Clark Williams involved in an incident. So Williams is your 3rd big victim of the day. There we can see him in the number 98 car. And Williams, he just gets a lot of help there by the number 34 car, where Daniel Toss just turns him around.
Yeah, just a little bit late on the brakes there, runs into the back of him and spins him around. Fortunately for them, it doesn't seem like it gave them too much damage, but obviously it's going to drop them way down the field. So he's got some work to do now from being just outside the top 10. Fortunate for both of them, Williams is currently down in 20th, so he didn't lose too much, but still a lot more than he would have wanted.
Yeah,
back
and then
the front.
Tony Stack had an incident as well, I think. And there we're going to see it. Yeah. Cow. A little bit of lets everyone slow down as fast as they can because of an incident moment as they head themselves back onto the banking. But let's go back to the front of the field. Let's do what you say there, leader. So we go on board with Claire Hughes, your race leader, in the number 42 car. Fastest lap of the day so far. We're already on to lap number 420. Fastest lap of the day is Nicholas Vaughan Roberts, 1 minute 6.907. Simon Edwards again seems content to just sit in second place and wait for an opportunity right now. But Claire Hughes, Simon Edwards have not been able to pull away. Lee Anderson still runs in that 3rd place, just half a second back. Ben Daniels still within 1 second as well. And you've got a 6-car breakaway at the front of this field.
Yeah, it's usual 5-6 cars breaking away from the rest of the pack, and here you can see now he comes to the inside. Simon Edwards has been trying this for the last couple of laps, but here he comes up the inside. Anderson is going to try and follow through, but he has to back out. Lee Hughes goes really wide here though, but he's going to be able to cut Anderson off, so that's Edwards up into the lead. See if he can be able to pull away now, but you can see just how much that draft means coming around the oval. He was able to just suck right past Lee Hughes going into turn 1 and then able to hold it on the inside all the way through the long turn 1, and there's nothing Hughes can do to stop him.
Yep, so Simon Edwards then to the top of the timing stands, Hughes down into second place. We're not going to make an English rugby, Welsh rugby joke in this broadcast, but in this case the Englishman is now ahead of the Welshman as they head back onto the banking. You see though, Simon Edwards pushing a little bit wide, actually almost into that blue safer barrier that lines the outside of this Phoenix International Racetrack. We stay on board with Lee Anderson's behind. Peter Cohen and Daniel Tufts are scrapping it out right now for 11th place on track. We're going to turn our attentions over to that because they're going to stay side by side all the way through NASCAR turn at number 3 and 4. We can't officially call it NASCAR turn 3 and 4 because IndyCar have decided not to come back to Phoenix in 2020.
Yeah, they have decided not to do that. I don't know if that has to do with the modification of the layout or something else, but it's now NASCAR 1 and 2 officially, and as you can see the Tufts got by Peter Cohen for P11. He's now got his sights on SJ Dunning in P number 10, and getting a top 10 for Tufts here would be a very good performance, starting in P15, so he's made up 4th position so far, but Cowan and Martin all over the back of him still. They've not given up, and he's getting closer to Dunning every single corner here, but he goes a little bit wide just as I say that, so Cowan right back underneath him, going to try and make a move, not going to be close enough though, unfortunately. Yeah,
there is Peter Cohen in the number 99 car. We go on board of him as he works into that left-hander back onto the bank section of the racetrack. I call it the bank section of the racetrack. It's nowhere near as banked as some of the tri-ovals of Texas or Atlanta or Charlotte, for example. Banking here is much less. You can pretty much take it flat out in an IndyCar in qualifying conditions under race pace, you've got to be using a lot of weight jacker and on light fuel if you want to try and do a lap flat around here. But you can see that Cohen back up then into 12th place. I believe that was lap traffic that they just worked themselves past a moment ago. So no real pass positions there. But we'll go back to the front of your field. Simon Edwards and Claire Hughes still separated by a quarter of a second actually behind. We have got battling going on at the rear part of your top 20. This is between Peter Parnell and James Ruth Jones in the battle for 18th place on tracking. One of the things about this infield is it is actually very wide. I mean, yes, it is a great big parking lot for the time being, but it is actually very wide as well. So there's no grass to really worry about if you do push an apex, and that means these drivers can be, especially now the tyres are warmed up, Lean, it's still a bit more aggressive than normal.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter if you push a little bit wide, because you'll still have the tarmac there to get right back onto the racing line, but you gotta be careful not to cut it though, because you'll get massive slowdowns around here if you cut the corners too much. So even though there is no grass, you still can't just go straight across as you want to, but obviously, like you said, going off is not going to be a huge problem. As coming back onto the straightaway here, we got Ruth Jones and Williams right up the inside trying to make positions back up, and it looks like he's going to get that position going into turn number 1, side by side there for P19. And Sarah Savage right behind these guys as well, trying to recover from the earlier spin that she had. Williams not able to clear him. Oh, he does clear him on right on the exit, and we have a slow car there on the left as well. I believe that is Neil A. Jackson, who's had some sort of problem, unless it was a lap car. I don't think it was. I think it was Jackson. Must have had some sort of an incident.
Yeah, you're right. We just saw a replay at the same time, by the way, of Claire Hughes, Simon Edwards and Lee Jackson. Edwards hang out to dry on the outside line. That allowed Claire Hughes to retake the race lead. And that time Anderson was able to sneak through. And actually now Anderson looking to try and make the move on the high side as they come down in towards turn number 1. Switcheroonie down to the inside. You can see how close he got to the pit wall. He's going to drift it. I mean, we joked on air, off air actually, about the fact that this always feels a bit like a Skip Barber version of the iRacing Rallycross World Championship. Always seems a little bit like some of the dirt racing here, Linus, because of the way they're drifting that back end through the corners.
Yeah, they're pushing it really, really hard, and especially on a track like this where you don't have that much grip, their rear end really wants to step out on you, and you can see it does that all the time. Anderson now with the lead used of pushing like mad behind him to keep up, but he's obviously got Edwards right behind him, and you can see all the different lines they're taking here. Anderson goes tight on entry, Lewis goes wide on entry and tight on exit, and Edwards goes wide both entry and exit, so all three has different lines all the way through that corner. Now into NASCAR 3 and 4 again, they're all going to stay right down on this yellow line. You don't want to go too far below it because you'll just lose all the grip. And here comes Hughes now with the draft. He's going to be on the outside of Anderson. Going to hold the insiders side by side across the line. Actually 0.000 separating them on the finish line. So that's one to look out for the end of this race as well. As Anderson is able to hold on to that lead actually.
Yeah, inside line worked well there for Lee Anderson into towards turn number 1. Hughes wins in second, Edwards third, Daniels fourth right now. Halfway of this race, we score complete this time around. We go back briefly to look at some of the battles. Clark Williams, Sarah Savage battling for 18th, 19th, 20th places. James Ruth Jones in the number 24 car getting all forms of loose there through the middle part of the racetrack. That cost him quite a bit of time. He's now down into 22nd place on tracks. We get a quick replay up for him, and actually he catches one of the few bits of grass that does exist around this racetrack. And you noticed about that he just had absolutely no grip around there, having to then take the escape road. And well, James Ruth Jones losing 4 places by catching one of the few bits of grass in all of Arizona.
Yeah, he's lucky he's able to keep it on track. As we see a battle right in front of him, a little bit of contact as well there between Savage and whoever that was. I think he just pulled over. Yeah. That's Christopher Keeble. He pulled over from that little bit of contact. Don't know why, but he has abandoned the race from 16th place.
Something look at the replay. Oh, he had silent contact there with Sarah Savage. Actually. Yeah, he did have silent contact with Sarah Savage. And then number 76 car deciding that he couldn't go any further, pulls that car off to the side of the road. He is out of the race. We're now on track number 11 of 20 here around Phoenix International Raceway. And I'm just going to stick it with this battle at the moment. We're going to go back to Clark Williams in the number 98 car. He's got himself Peter Parnell just ahead. It's a battle now for 17th and 18th place on track. Simon Maltby's not far back in 19th. Neil Jackson running out your top 20. And of course, we're getting ourselves now into this part of the season, Linus, where drivers start thinking about big picture and about the championship. So every top 20, top 15 position that you can get really does start to matter.
Yeah, it does. Every position you get here is worth a point, so these guys definitely going to race it out, almost as if it was for the win, because every single point matters at the end of the day, and you don't want to lose a points battle by 1 point because you didn't make that move in that one race, because that will obviously not be ideal. As we're right back at the front, that's Lee Anderson looking on the inside of Leah Hughes. He can't get it done though. Edwards is right behind him as he has to swerve to not hit the back of him. He's got Edwards now on the inside, almost make contact, and Edwards moves up into second. Here comes Daniels as well, looking to capitalize on that right on the inside of Anderson, but it looks like Anderson is going to be able to clear him coming up into the hairpin back onto the oval again. Oh, Edwards gets really, really close there. I think he missed his braking point a bit. That's going to hurt him all the way down the oval.
Yeah, this is going to be dangerous now for Simon Edwards because he's losing a lot of time. Of course, this is a momentum track in some ways. You can see at the back of your picture, you've got Ben Daniels in the number 33 car. He's just seeking his car to the outside, trying to see if he can get himself a run, a bit of momentum right now. He can't do anything. It looks as though actually Simon Edwards has been able to be lucky with that one and keep that second place behind. Look how close it is between Anthony Catt and Ewan Patterson. That's the battle going on between 6th and 7th place on track right now. Ewan Patterson in the number 22 car, all over the rear of Anthony Catt for 6th.
Yeah, we're used to seeing Catt further up in the field, but it doesn't look like he's able to get the speed in his car around this layout. Maybe he's not been able to practice much through the week, but Pattinson doing everything he can here, trying to get this 6th position, which could very well turn into top 5 if something happens ahead of him. But they're not far behind. They've got about 1.5 seconds up to Chris J. Robertson in 5th place, so they could very well latch onto this top 5 group if they just keep working together here, switching positions back and forth around the oval.
Yeah, as further back towards the rear of your top 10, S.J. Dunning and Matt Cox are separated by about 1/3 of a second right now. That's a scrap going on, as I say, for 8th place on track. Lots of battles going on all around your field right now. And of course, this is one of the joys about the Skip Barber series and the championship. Of course, Monday night is the last week of the official series, and tomorrow it's a whole new week and a whole new start for the drivers of the iRacing Skip Barber Race Series as they move themselves over to Oran Park. We'll have coverage of that event, and that will be 20 laps Monday next week at about 8:45 GMT in the evening. Road America, Circuit of Catalunya, Sebring and Silverstone wraps out our season. So after starting the season here, Linus, with very short racetracks, we have got ourselves a couple of long ones to finish things off with. Road America, Circuit of Catalunya, Sebring and Silverstone for our number 12.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of long straightaways with a lot of drafting going on, a lot of tactical racing there, and it's going to be very much about gaining momentum out of corners as well. So one mistake on any of those tracks is going to cost you a lot, because you'll be losing speed for the next 10, 20, 15 seconds, depending on where it happens around the racetrack. So it's going to be a very interesting end to the season. Not going to be as tight racing as this is, with passes being made all the way over the track all the times, but it's definitely going to be very tactical and a lot about what kind of momentum you can get. As Lee Hughes here is still in the lead ahead of Simon Edwards, Lee Anderson and Ben Daniels. They have been able to pull away a bit from Chris J. Robertson in 5th, but he's still back there, lurking in the background. So they've not lost him quite yet. He's still there if something was to happen, but he's not quite within touching this distance at the moment as they're coming up on lap traffic here. But that lap traffic seems to just be getting nicely out of the way for them, so not going to cause a problem. He's actually going to use that lap traffic to get some draft before going into turn 3 and 4 here. Yeah,
and that lap traffic with the number 77 machine there of Mod Kilchko, and he just runs the ultra low line, and a lot of these drivers of course aren't very used to running on oval, so you've got to be careful. Simon Edwards and Claire Hughes side by side in towards turn number 1. And look at that sweep under there by Claire Hughes to keep hold of the race lead. Edwards having to remain in second place for the time being. Lee Anderson in third. Dave Martin, by the way, battling out of Peter Cohen, and this is down in 11th place on track, side by side going on as they sweep through into the corner. It's actually a 3-car pack right now going on for 11th, 12th and 13th place on track, with Dave Martin at the rear of this one. Then you've got Nicholas Warren Roberts in 12th and Peter Cohen in 11th.
Yeah, Warren Roberts has dropped back from starting 5th, so he's trying to recover some positions here. So you see Martin go wide there, and Warren Roberts is going to move up into that 11th position. That's actually Cowan going wide, sorry. Martin trying to capitalize on that as well, but he's not going to get quite close enough. Maybe he's going to try the outside here of Cohen, but he's going to try and set him up for the oval. And instead he's right on the rear bumper of him here. But don't think he's going to be able to do anything before turn 3 and 4, so maybe he can get enough momentum to get him down the front straightaway.
Yep, as you are pretty much flat out through this section of the racetrack. This is NASCAR turn 3 and 4. You can see the steering wheel inputs, and that's the thing I was briefly mentioning. These drivers don't do that much racing on ovals, especially not in this series. We often see maybe one oval per season. We've already had New Hampshire Motor Speedway, which is on the schedule for this year. It's a track that most of the time, you think about a oval in the Skip Barber series, you're likely to see. But Phoenix, actually, if it was a pure oval, Phoenix is far harder track, Linus. And the only difficult part for me in terms of this racetrack's actually down through NASCAR turn 3 and 4, because the car does like getting light through there, as James Ruth Jones then having an incident in number 24 car, and he is out of the race. This is going to be contact down into turn number 1 and 2. The back end gets loose, and then he gets finally helped around, I think they're, yep, on the exit of turn 2.
Yeah, very unfortunate incident there. Car behind me just gets a little bit too close and doesn't check up enough and just hits James in the back and spins him out. So unfortunate end to the day for him there.
Sarah Savage and Chris Morris, they're looking as though they might go side by side for P number 15 as they come past the stripe there. Number 29 machine. Chris Morris now in 16th place. Sarah Savage up 1 place back into your top 15 as Daniel Tufts then and SJ Dunning is just having a battle. It's actually Nicholas Warren Roberts in that all-blue car, and Daniel Tufts able to be the beneficiary of that one. So even at the rear in your top 10, there's still plenty of action to go with 2.5 laps in this race.
It really is action all over the track, as always in this series. And well, these guys are definitely going at it for P number 10. P number 9 though is about 8 seconds ahead, so they're not going to get involved with that. And Paul Smith is right ahead of these guys as well, so they're going to get some draft help here from our very own Mr. Paul coming down around the oval. That's definitely going to help Tufts, who's at the head of this pack. But Von Roberts going to get some draft at the end of the straight when they overtake Paul Smith, so we might see side by side here coming into turn number 1.
Yeah, Paul Smith all the way down in 33rd place here today as we come down. Then 2 laps of this race to go in towards turn number 1, and there's a look then from the rear of Paul Smith. You've got a lot of traffic just behind him, including Daniel Tufts, Nicholas Warren Roberts, Peter Cohen, et al. And they're all going to try and find a way past quickly, but we do need to go back to your race leaders. Claire Hughes leading the way, Simon Edwards second, Lee Anderson third, and Ben Daniels rounds out your top 4. Still technically a 4-horse race here, but you got to say Simon Edwards has been like a viper here. He's just looking maybe for this last run through NASCAR turn 3 and 4 to try and strike.
Yeah, he's got 1 lap to go. He's going to get the drafter. He's going to try and get to the inside. Lee is going to block him heavily, though. He's going to have to move to the outside, see if he can get around. And here comes Anderson behind as well. He's not going to make a 3 right. He's going to dive all the way into the bottom. Look at that move. Wow, all the way to the inside wall. He's not going to be able to stick it in there, though. He has to back out. And Edwards goes around on the outside ahead of Lee Hughes. He's going to try and get the cutback, but Edwards gets back to the inside of that corner and blocks it off. So Lee Hughes back to second, Anderson all over the back of him, but Simon Edwards up to the lead, and this is going to be a drag race to the line. Anderson
almost running to the rear. Claire Hughes through turns number 1 and 2. But it is Simon Edwards who leads away then. They've just got a couple of more corners to go before they're back onto the banking, and from there it's all going to be flat out. Here comes Clay Hughes looking down inside line. Can't do anything, but has he got the momentum? Has he got the opportunity to try and make a run through the banking? No. I actually think that Claire Hughes has moved down to the inside, coming onto the banking. It's going to cost him out the line. It's going to be Edwards, then Hughes and Anderson. It's going to be mighty close as they head themselves towards the strike. And Lee Anderson can't get second place, or can he? No, he can't. It is going to be Edwards who takes the victory by 34 1,000ths of a second over Claire Hughes. And then Lee Anderson rounds out your top 5, so your top 3 even. Ben Daniels in 4th, Anthony Catt rounds out your top 5. That was a close one there. It did get a photo finish at the end, Linus, but Claire Hughes, he just went too early, and the momentum he lost coming onto the banking cost him the race overall.
Yeah, it really did. He moved out a bit too early there, but he got too close to Edwards, so he kind of had to move out, otherwise it would have just hit him. But still a very, very good end to this race, and another close finish for this season, as we have tons of battles going on all the way down through the field here, coming across the line side by side, several places, but not too many big position changes in the battles that we've been following through the race. So I think that is win number, is it number 4 on the season for Simon Edwards in 7 races? That's pretty impressive from him.
It's been a great run for Simon Edwards this season, as we have all that then through your final race results. And Simon Edwards clings victory by 34 thousandths of a second over Claire Hughes. Lee Anderson 3rd place, Ben Daniels in 4th. Anthony Catt rounds out your top 5. With Chris Robertson in 6th place, Ian Patterson in 7th, Matt Cox in 8th, S.J. Dunning in 9th, and Nicholas Bourne Roberts rounding out your top 10. Edwards, Hughes and Anderson, they had that battles going on early. Ben Daniels was always there or thereabouts, but couldn't capitalise at the end, and it was a last-ditch moment then at the start of the final lap for Simon Edwards that got himself the race lead, and Claire Hughes did try to attack, and he tried to go down to the inside, coming back onto the banking on the final lap, but just wasn't close enough to make the move stick, and therefore lost some momentum. There's the remainder of the results up on the screen. Daniel Tufts in 11th place, Dave Martin in 12th, Peter Cohen, Dave Kirkman and Claire Williams rounds out your top 15. Well, a fun race here today, Linus, at Phoenix, and next time out we're going to head ourselves over to Oran Park for 20 laps worth of racing. Same time, same place. Next week on RaceSpotTV.
It's going to be a great race next week. I'm really looking forward to it, and usually get some big grids over there and some really great races, so it's that's going to be one that you're definitely going to want to tune into.
Well, there is a look then at the last few results. 40 drivers took the green flag here today. We had to do some random filling, waiting for Simon Edwards to figure out what buttons and what things he needs to do in order to come and talk to us. He'll do that in a moment's time, but Simon Edwards, we say, claiming victory by just under half a tenth of a second here. The remaining rounds of this championship are going to be Oran Park this time next week, then Road America in 2 weeks' time, Circuit de Catalunya in a couple of weeks, and then we've got Sebring International Raceway and Silverstone to wrap up the season. Race winner Simon Edwards is here, and he stood by Linus.
Simon, that was a very, very exciting race, and all the way down to the wire. How were you planning that last lap, and did you think that Lee Hughes was going to get you to the line?
Yeah, I didn't know what I was planning really. Once Lee got past me, I thought, I'm stuck. I can't get past. But once they went side by side and I managed to get in front of Lee, I thought, I won't try the outside line, because I might be able to make it work into T1. And then just tried it. And somehow made it work. I think maybe because Clear's line was never on the inside, whereas my line is always on the inside. So maybe it just slowed him down by doing a different line. But yeah, on the out of the last corner, I didn't really know if they were going to get me or not. But that was exciting. I really enjoyed that race.
Well, it certainly was close, and you're saying you took the inside line into that first corner more often than not, but we saw Lee Anderson went all the way into the wall there as well with an attempt on the last lap into turn number 1, nearly took out all 3 of you. But how is this racetrack to race? Because it's not one that you normally see. Is it weird? Was it hard to learn? And has it got a lot of grip? Because everybody seemed to be sliding around a lot.
Yeah, in the forums, you'll probably see that most people have said, that this is a pointless track, that it's not a good track to be having. It's okay. It's a bit simple because even though there seems like there's a lot of corners, there's only really 3 or 4. The rest of them you're just cutting over the top of, so you're not really taking them as corners. So I think I don't think people have really liked it in the week, but there's been big grids, so somebody's liking it. But yeah, it was a little bit hot today on the track. In the week, we'd been easily getting into the 105s and occasionally 104s with a bit of tow, and we were struggling to get anywhere near a 105 in the tow. So yeah, it was pretty slippy out there, but at least there was grip in the first couple of laps. So, but more so than last week where it was really cold.
Well.
So Alan had deliberately set that up so that it was a little bit hotter on the track, so that the first laps might have been a bit easier.
Well, that's good on him, and made for some really exciting racing. And again, congrats on your 4th win on the season in 7 races. Oran Park next week, you're going to make that number 5?
I love Oran Park. I'm not sure I can make it number 5. I think Claire's really good there. And there's a few other guys who are good there, and Tom might turn back up there because I'm sure it's a track that he'll really like.
Anybody you want to send a shout out to before we go?
Just to the guys I was racing, because we were so clean. So to Claire and to Lee. Do you know, I don't even know who the 4th guy was because I wasn't concentrating.
Ben Daniels.
Was it Ben? Was it? All right, yeah, and Ben for not throwing one at me, so that's good. So yeah, just the guys in the race, and also I did want to mention something. You said I don't come unless I win, which is a bit true. But I did try and come the last 2 times that I was second. So as long as I'm in the top 3 and I'm not annoyed, I will try and come. It's just sometimes I start talking to people and I don't end up coming early enough before you guys have finished. Yeah, I'll try and make, even if I crash or whatever, I'll try and make it, and you can hear me being a little bit more vocal.
Well, you're the only one who ever shows up for interviews anymore, so thanks for doing that, and congrats on the win, and we will see you again next week. Well,
thank you.
Thank you, Simon Edwards, and that's all we got time for here tonight on this edition of Monday Night Skippys, which as ever is presented in support of the Calm Zone. So thank you to Linus Brunstrom. I've been Will Vincent, standing in for Rachel Whitefoot here today. We'll be back, same time, same place, next Monday night for more Monday Night Skippys action. Good night from Phoenix International Raceway.